Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and we are sitting down to talk about Xbox Game Pass. We have a lot more information since the major changes hit the service last week, where we sat down to talk about the various tiers, some of the value being stripped away from some, like the standard or console tier, as well as how PC Game Pass is really winning out big, and how Ultimate has now been moved up to $20. Amidst all this were a few questions and some lingering emotions because the reaction to the Game Pass changes wasn't immediate anger until I think some more information set in, and I also think the reality that Xbox is not really focusing on console growth anymore was also setting in. We're going to get into all of that, especially that last point being a big focal point of this video here, where you're going to see multiple things I show you is Xbox's gaze is averting. They are not focused on console as much in the terms of growth. They're still going to support you. You're good enough to keep around, but they're being not as loyal in their relationship, if you will. So we're going to break all that down. First, I do want to clear up a touch of misinformation. There was this Microsoft reward story getting covered a lot by various outlets where they're saying that it's making big changes related to Xbox Game Pass. Those changes being that people thought you could no longer buy Xbox Game Pass with your Microsoft rewards points. These are points you can gather by completing, say, Game Pass quests or doing challenges within the rewards program, like using Bing, all that sort of stuff. And there were people who farmed points over there. There have been a lot of changes to the service since then, but you can still effectively pay for your Game Pass subscription if you're really invested in the Xbox ecosystem. Fortunately, what we've learned is just auto renewal through these points has been canceled. As Xbox has clarified, hey, Game Pass member, we're making a change to auto redeem reward options, which means your current discounted Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass auto redeem subscription is going away August 12th, 2024. You can still use your points on a new auto redeem subscription or explore the catalog for other rewards. So many people thought you weren't going to be able to use your reward points anymore to get Game Pass, but that's not the case. Now let's get into more pressing news here. Specifically, a big question coming out of the news last week on Xbox Game Pass is what's going on with this console or standard tier. What we learned is day one Game Pass is gone. Okay, but for how long? Now, my initial theory was like 3 months max. I don't think you want to just pull it completely away from them. But then I theorized that you look at something such as Starfield or Forza Horizon, where these were random games Xbox did a little bit of, hey, you pay a little extra and you get early access for this game. And I think Xbox has tried in multiple cases to prey on the fear of missing out, right? And so here where we learn when Paris Lilly is saying, when will new releases enter Game Pass standard? Jez Corden says, they told me case-by-case basis between 6 and 12 months and sometimes longer. So the goal here, I'm imagining, is to keep you floating around the $15 or standard tier and continuing to invest in that. And when you see an Avowed, when you see something along the lines of Call of Duty or whatever piques your interest, maybe you upgrade. Or if they have a great stretch of releases, like it's looking like to be this holiday period, maybe they keep you in for those 4 months and that's beneficial to them. I imagine they've mapped out the math. I don't know how it's going to make sense to them. I know Microsoft is an overall kind of revenue company, so like hardware could be at a loss, but gaming subscriptions could be up. Gaming revenue in general, like sales, could be in a middle ground area, but overall the business is profitable. Good, keep doing what you're doing. Like that's how Xbox operates. So I try not to read too deeply into one particular facet of the bunch, doing a little bit of something weird compared to the rest. But still, what we're learning here is that day one Game Pass on the standard tier may take up to half a year to get you new games. Like Avowed in November means you're going to see that in like May or June, the earliest the following year, which is really crazy to think about. What I think this is going to incentivize for some people is to unsubscribe and just subscribe when they see something worth their time, which we already talked about last week, and how I imagine with the $20 price point at Ultimate and forcing everyone into there for day one, Xbox has done some sort of math saying these extra $3-4, at least in the US equivalent, is going to get us over the hump financially a little bit more, where at least we're getting $20 a pop out of a $70 game for our subscription service. Meanwhile, we're going to sell it on all other platforms. I think this is the big home run swing to see how things pan out, but nonetheless, they are gearing themselves up for a potential future where, let's say, Call of Duty doesn't move the needle for them, which I don't think that's going to be the case. I just don't know how much it'll move the needle, but I do think it's going to do something for the service. I mean, Call of Duty is just so massive that we're seeing it move mountains already in 2024 with what's considered one of the worst entries in the entire series. So I feel like Xbox has every right to kind of believe that this could change the course of Game Pass. But let's say it doesn't. Now they're not losing out big time and overreacting to a potential problem down the line where they're giving out day one in the $15 tier. And they're like, oh, we're losing out big. We're not getting new subscribers from Call of Duty like we expected. And let's like reel this in a little bit. Now, on top of this information about the Game Pass tier changes was probably supposed to break with an announcement of sorts to soften the blow. Like we saw with the business update that Xbox did, they sat down and announced, oh, Diablo's coming to Game Pass. They had a couple other nuggets, a couple other gems in the overall, what many would consider to be bad news on the future of Xbox. We learned here through Insider Gaming that Modern Warfare 3 is set to come to Game Pass this month, which is a little surprising as we just learned it's the #2 best-selling game of the year. So it continues to do really well despite any sort of internet discourse. It just goes to say that the internet is not real life. And I say this as someone who works on the internet. But at the bottom of this post here, Tom Henderson writes, it's understood that the announcement could come as soon as today, which this was on July 10th, which is believed to have been the original plan for Xbox Game Pass with its price changes and increases. At the same time, we also learned that Black Ops 6 is going to have a beta with early access to said beta going from August 30th to September 4th for both pre-orders and Game Pass subscribers. So yeah, we're already seeing Xbox leaning into Call of Duty in a pretty heavy, meaningful way. They're planning on using it to soften a blow with the tier changes, with the price changes. And now we're also seeing here with the early access to the beta that they're leaning into Game Pass subscribers. Similar to what we just talked about with Concord over on PS5, where they didn't see, I imagine, a ton of pre-orders for the game. And so they changed from just pre-orders for that closed beta to really opening things up to all PS Plus premium subscribers. And so we're seeing here Xbox is going to lean into Call of Duty and Game Pass at any chance they can get. Now, granted, if you've already pre-ordered it, then you don't have to be a part of Game Pass, but this is something to continue to watch out for. It's really important for those who are heavily invested in the ecosystem to monitor the success of Call of Duty, because I do think a lot hinges on this release. Now, fortunately, from what we saw in the developer direct, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is shaping up to be an absolute banger. And I say this as someone who's not a massive Call of Duty fan. Like, it looks really, really good. So I'm excited for this beta. I'll be checking it out. And this is the first time in years I've felt some sort of optimism for Call of Duty. So very excited to see what Black Ops 6 does. So those are some of the changes on what's going on with Game Pass standard tier. And some people are wondering, why are console users being, as they would put it, betrayed? And I get it, because this service was built off your back, but this is the reality of a company trying to grow and raise its bottom line. Is they're not interested in loyalty. They just want to grow it enough where there is this investment, there is this proof of concept, if you will, and now they're going to take this to as many places as possible and have you try to pay top dollar for the thing you were getting a really good deal on. So what do I mean by that? Well, recently we saw that Xbox Cloud Gaming is headed to Amazon Fire Stick TV, and you can actually see here there is a bundle announced by Xbox and Amazon, which includes a wireless controller, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and a month of Game Pass Ultimate. Now, I know it's Prime Day as I'm taking a look at this. Normally, it's $120, but for $80, you get a controller, a month of Game Pass Ultimate, the Fire TV Stick 4K Max, as well as the remote itself. The controller usually goes for $60. A month of Ultimate's now $20, and then the stick plus the remote is like another $20. So this is a really good deal. I don't want to buy it because I already use my console. I have a PC. Like, I'm good. But if you're interested in this, it is there. But what this communicates is what we've been talking a lot about on Defining Duke, which is, why is PC getting the best deal of the bunch? Because that's where they're trying to grow. That's why console was getting an incredible deal. That's why you were paying $15 a month for Ultimate at one point in time. Subscription services naturally go up. I think you've heard that a million times before, and it doesn't really need any explaining. Like, it's already expected when you look at Spotify, you look at Disney Plus, you look at Netflix, like, these prices always get jacked up. And I don't think this is going to be the last price increase. So do not fool yourselves that this is where it ends. It's really about, as Xbox increases the prices, how are they going to add value? Right now, they're saying we're going to go in on Call of Duty. That's our added value. And we'll see how that pans out. But the reason that they're going over to Amazon Fire TV Stick, and the reason that they're putting things like stream Xbox games, no console required, PC Game Pass at like $12 a month, giving you all the perks, like you're eating good over there, is because these are the places they're trying to grow. They've recognized and said a million times, hey, consoles are done growing. You know, those are it. That's the install base. How do we go beyond that? And this is them doing that. They're just accepting like, hey, you 20 to 30 million people are here, and we're going to go and chase the other like 80 to 100 million over there and try to increase the amount of subscriptions on our service. So you give PC especially the best possible deal, because the PC app sucks. Let's keep it real. Like, it's not that great. So you got to give them a great deal to at least go like, well, this is such a bargain. Like, I got to do this. But I think what's going to happen is the same thing that happened a lot with console, which is a lot of people are going to subscribe for a month, get Avowed, subscribe for a month, get Microsoft Flight Simulator, or whatever games it may be. Now, when it comes to the Fire Stick and Xbox, I'm curious to see how that grows the service, but they're doing all this at the same time that Call of Duty's ramping up. But that doesn't seem to just be it. Xbox seems to have a pretty big home run swing planned, if the rumor mill is going to be believed. GameRanks reports Helldivers 2 coming to Game Pass this month, where Mr. Boomstick says if this rumor is true, it's going to break the internet. It's going to break bats like Batman and Bane. Boomstick shared a clue and worded it in such a way that if you don't know what the rumor is, you wouldn't get it, where he says that it is the biggest game of the year, arriving as the last game added to Game Pass this month. It's also now playable on PC and PlayStation 5. And as reported last April, special Nick Baker had claimed in an episode of the Xbox Era podcast that preliminary discussions about bringing Helldivers 2 to Xbox had begun, and that there are no rumors about Stellar Blade 2 or other PS5 exclusives coming to Xbox. And would explain how Xbox is planning to offset the bad news, because there's one way of delivering it, which is what we got here, where we have all this information, all these changes, and really like not even an Xbox Wire article to go off of, versus getting all of that information at once, plus saying like, hey, here's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which for me, as someone who doesn't like the game, I would have kind of laughed at that. But also like, hey, here's Helldivers 2. Okay, now we're kind of talking. I already played a lot of Helldivers 2 on PS5, but many people haven't. The game has also declined a ton in the terms of player base, like 90%. And so this would be an amazing shot in the arm for not only that game, but some of the excitement surrounding it, as I know a lot of the narrative was like, PlayStation's destroying this game. So now a new fan base gets to come in. I'm sure Arrowhead is very excited about this as well. And it would look pretty good for Xbox to be able to kind of sweep in and get what is one of the biggest games of the year from PlayStation and PC over to their systems. So that is pretty neat to see, but we'll see how, again, that moves things for Xbox. But that is the rumor right now that I have heard, is that there is something big coming to Game Pass. We'll see what that ends up being. And there you have it. That's all the news today that we have. So we have Game Pass standard tier, 6 to 12 month wait. You have Modern Warfare 3 coming into Game Pass later this month, apparently, and potentially Helldivers 2. And as we're seeing, other platforms beyond the Xbox console are getting incredible deals. What's happening now with Game Pass, the biggest change is what I said already multiple times, is the price has been moved up to a point where it's now a case-by-case basis. You're going to hear some people, just like you do with Netflix and Disney Plus and Spotify and etc. Like, oh, I use this a lot, so it's worth the value to me. It has great stuff here. Like, I'm going to engage in all of this. To some people saying, this is ridiculous. This is overpriced. I barely use this thing. So the conversation around it is changing. I think the biggest thing that Xbox did to hurt themselves here is actually not the price change. It's that the now standard tier is more equal with PS Plus Extra, which was the one thing Xbox did, I think, really well, was creating this separation between PS Plus and Game Pass, saying like, hey, I don't personally, as someone who subscribed to PS Plus, hate this service at all. I think it offers a lot of value, especially as someone who's like a retro gamer. I love that they're doing PS2 and PS1 and PSP games with trophy support. Like, that just speaks my language. And I know I could buy them a la carte, but it's cool that they're packaged in there. That gets me excited. I mean, they're adding like Ratchet and Clank Size Matters. They just did Daxter. Like, that stuff to me is really cool. So I find value in that on a backwards compatible and trophy hunting level, but it may differ from person to person. The reality is, though, that there was a pretty big gap, in my opinion, between PS Plus and Game Pass. And I do think stripping down that $15 tier does bring them more in line, and you could have a better argument of which is better at this point in time just by grading the vaults, which is something I think Xbox probably wanted to avoid there. So we'll see how things pan out. For me, you may recognize that my reaction has not been really one way or the other. I haven't been like super upset. I haven't been super happy about anything when it comes to this news. And it's because I want to wait and see on what happens with Black Ops 6. Because I think the reality is, if you are a person who does games coverage in this industry and you're leaping to a conclusion of this is amazing or this is bad for Game Pass and Xbox, I just think it's short-sighted, because we won't know truly until the big bet pays off with Black Ops 6 or it flounders, and that time will come in November. Until then, we're going to see how the beta affects things. We're going to see what this big game in July does to affect things. We'll see what MW3 does to affect things. We'll see what this onslaught of day one games hitting the holiday period does. Like, these next few months are going to be incredibly busy for Xbox, so I think it's time to just wait and see. I know they step on a rake frequently when you're Xbox, and they're always making a mess of themselves, but I think this is a time to kind of wait and see and approach this with some level of patience, because this is them effectively making a big swing to make sure Game Pass remains as is, at least for the time being. So we'll see where it all goes. Time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below. So fire away. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.